What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD interview. So real quick before we jump into this badass, amazing content, I want to give our sponsors a plug that make all this possible. So our first sponsor is www.perfectstormnow.com. Front-end lead generation, real estate specific lead generation software. It's a brilliant branding site, lead generation site. Not only do we provide you an epic, amazing site, we coach you for hours every single month, you guys. We have private mastermind groups where we walk you through and teach you how to be a lead generation machine. So it's not just a website, it's a coaching platform where we teach you how to become a lead generation and a lead conversion to client machine. Our second sponsor is my personal mentorship program, my 90-day mastery bootcamp, right? So recently with the 90-day mastery bootcamp, we have added our alumni program. It's a $50 a month program that you have daily access to me in our own private Facebook group, right? We have 2 monthly live sessions that are 2 hours long every single week. And again, you have daily access to me. We also have 2 live in-person events every 6 months. Every 6 months, we do a live event here in Phoenix Metro. They're 2 days long each event. We don't bring in speakers. There's nothing to sell. It's just hardcore masterminding, 20 hours of just hardcore badass content throughout those sessions. That's $50 a month. But in order to get into that program, you guys, you have to, the initiation fee, if you will, is the 90-day mastery bootcamp. We only want people in that program, real estate agents in that program, that know the process, that are going out there, that are getting results, know the process. So for the first time ever, we're allowing on our 90-day mastery bootcamp, splitting up into 3 payments. That program is $997. We're splitting up into 3 payments with no finance fee. So www.90daymastery.com. Promo code Live Mastery. There's only a few events left this year. If you have any questions about that event, shoot me an email, joshua@gsdmode.com. Also, make sure to jump into the private Facebook group. We just created a GSD Mode private Facebook group. It's a free group. So it's a place to make sure that you guys aren't missing out on any content. Also, a great place for you to mastermind and hang out with and be around other like-minded people. So anyway, you guys, thank you so much for watching, and let's jump on into the show. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD interview. Every single week we interview top entrepreneurs and just top badasses that are out there dominating their space. These are people that are choosing not to live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and create amazing lives for themselves and for their families. So today, you guys, got a special guest on the show today. This is a guy that's a very successful entrepreneur, very successful real estate agent, has a mega team, now has expansion teams. So really stoked and honored to have Jamie Cox on the show. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you being here, dude. And I know you got a lot going on today, man. You've got a very large real estate team. You've got expansion teams. But before we talk about what you're doing today, man, I'm always interested in the journey that led you to entrepreneurship in the first place. So let's rewind the clocks. How'd you get started on this journey in the first place?
Sure. Well, the plan was never to be a real estate agent, believe it or not. The plan was to be a real estate investor and kind of build a business that way. Back in 2004, a bunch of hurricanes went through Orlando where I lived and kind of destroyed that and made it tough to be an investor then. So my wife and I at the time, we kind of looked around the country to see where there was a market similar to what we had in Orlando that happened to be in Las Vegas. So we sold everything off, moved to Las Vegas. I'd never been here before. I came here strictly because I saw the real estate opportunity. Unfortunately, when I got here, the market had just kind of crashed out. You know, it was mid 2007, beginning of 2007. I started getting creative and putting these bandit signs up all over the place with "We buy houses, we take over payments." Literally, months went by. I had notebooks, the 5-subject notebooks, just full of names and emails and phone numbers of people that wanted my help, but they were all upside down. There was no way I could take over their payments. It didn't make sense for me to buy the property from them. Some of them couldn't even sell. And I got sucked into going and getting my license and then calling all of those people back and saying, "Hey, I could help you now. We could do a short sale." And then it just kind of spiraled out of control from there.
Yeah, man. So what got you into real estate investing, though? I mean, how did you get? Is that something that your family was involved in, or is that? I mean, how did that transpire?
There was really no plan. Somehow I managed to buy my first house when I was 19. And this is as the market was skyrocketing. The market was just going absolutely nuts. So banks were just giving away money to anybody that wanted it. So I don't even know how it happened, but I qualified to buy a house when I was 19. And the market went crazy, and I was able to buy another house and rent out the first one. And it just kind of compounded to the point where I had a bunch of houses, and I started calling myself an investor.
Yeah, love it, man. So you moved to Vegas, you got all this going on, you got this stack of now people that are upside down, they're in a short sell position. So at what point did you really like, this is where I need to be. I need to get, at this point, I don't know if you already had your real estate license for the investment side, but at what point did you like make that decision, like, holy crap, there's a massive opportunity here, let me go in and be in the realtor position, helping these families with the short sale?
But at that time, I had no idea what a short sale even was. I just found out that in the state of Nevada, you could do this thing where you sold the house for less than what it was worth, but in order to do that, you had to have a real estate license. So I went and got the license. I started calling all of these people back, and it was literally a matter of just calling them and saying, "Hey, we talked 2 weeks ago or a month ago or whatever it was. I told you that I couldn't help, but now I have a solution. I could put your house on the market, then I'll negotiate with the bank for you. They'll pay me, and then we'll sell your house for less than what you owe." And I was literally just taking listings over the phone, just docu-signing out contracts, never meeting the people, never seeing the houses. And when that happened, all of a sudden I started getting buyers calling me. And I had zero interest in working with buyers. So I literally just ignored them for probably 6 months. I just wanted to take the listings and do my thing that way. And finally, the buyers got so annoying, if you will, that I had to find somebody to just answer that phone and deal with those inquiries. And it built from there.
Yeah, so that started the real estate team, huh?
Yeah.
So, when we do call, I know you had a big book, if you will, or a big list of people already in that position. But once you decided that, okay, short sales was a good way for you to start growing your real estate business, were there new ways that you were going out there and attacking them, going out there and getting new names, new numbers? And if so, how were you finding those people?
We were going straight to the source. Once we kind of got our systems down as to what needed to happen with a short sale, and once we took the listing and it got under contract, how we were going to manage it, we had people helping us on the back end. We got lists from our title company of people that were in default. And here in Vegas, it was just absolute insanity. I mean, I would have pages and pages of default. So I would literally just print out packages and walk up to people's front door and just hand them a package. Look, I know that you're late. So is 10 other people on this street. I just wanted to give you a package with options. Short sales an option, loss mitigation, or some sort of loan modification is an option, foreclosure, bankruptcy. I just gave them all of their options and resources to call for each one. And a lot of them called us to list it.
Yeah, love that, man. Lead with value, lead from a place of contribution, and always pays off, man. I love that. So, and Phoenix was very, Phoenix, Vegas, we were just really in the same spot, man. It was so gnarly, so fast. And all right, so so we saw a lot of agents though that did well. I don't want to say that did well, but that got into and adapted to the short sale market, the REO market. But then as that died down, man, they had a very difficult time transitioning. We see this with a lot of agents out there, but you did a really good job with the transition. So you kind of built your business on this model of these defaults and people in default. But as the Vegas market started turning, how did you transition your business so you could keep growing it the way that you have?
Well, it's funny. It was like a light switch, literally. We had a huge short sale inventory that we were working on and battling it out with a bank. And then one day I just get this random phone call from a lady that wanted to sell her condo. And I'll never forget it. It was a $79,000 condo, probably about a mile down the street here. And she said she owned it free and clear. And I actually was scared because I didn't even know what to do with it. I had never taken an equity sale before. And at this point, I'm a year and a half into my career. I'd never done an equity transaction on the buy side or the sell side. It was pretty crazy. When I took that listing and it closed within 30, 45 days, and I got a check without yelling and screaming at some bank employee, I was done with short sales. We still did them because they still trickled in. We had all of our marketing and advertising and everything out there. But from that day forward, when I saw how real estate was actually supposed to be done from an agent standpoint, we went all in on going after equity sales. We could see that the market was going to be shifting back to something that was real. So we just decided to go in all in after that.
Yeah. So I mean, what did you start doing? Because essentially, I mean, you're almost like a new agent at this point. So it's like if an agent jumped in the marketplace today and they're going after, because I mean, equity sales is what we're seeing today. We don't know how much longer that will last before we start seeing some short sales again. But what did you start doing for those, man? I mean, did you pick up your kind of your traditional direct mail, door knocking, open houses? I mean, how did you start building up that business?
At that time, we went to Craigslist. We were doing a lot on Craigslist. It was a different platform back then than it is today. Now, we're talking 2010, 2011-ish, maybe something like that. Craigslist, everybody was trying to get on Craigslist. So we were getting equity sellers from posting in the services section of Craigslist. We did some online stuff with websites that we had. We also did some prospecting, but most of it was we were still in the sit back and wait mode. You got to remember that people were calling us. We had no idea who they were. They said, "Hey, we heard you're the guy to do short sale. Can you send me the paperwork?" So we were still in that mentality of just sit back and wait on business to come to you. And it wasn't until we realized that it was going to get really competitive as new agents came back into the market, as the market rose, that we were going to have to change to differentiate ourselves.
Yeah. All right, man. So you're doing a lot of Craigslist, and I know today you're doing a lot of. I mean, you're still online, but you're doing transfer or transition to a lot of Facebook. So kind of break down, I guess, what does your business look like today as far as how much is from Facebook, how much is from repeat referral business. Where's your business coming from today?
Sure. So we have really three sources of business, regardless of location. The foundation of everything is our database and the agents that are on our team, their database. And then in order to grow that, we do online marketing. We drive a lot of traffic to Boomtown from a bunch of different sources, Facebook or Google or whatever. And then prospecting. Every person on our team is required to prospect before lunchtime. Our morning is for our future and our afternoon is for the now business. So if you're on our team, you suit up and you show up in the morning to prospect. And we get business from it.
Yeah, love it, man. What does your team structure look like today? I mean, you've got, there's so many different ways to operate and run a team. So I mean, what does it look like from assistants to, if you adopted an ISA model to what your agent duties are?
Sure. So we've toyed around with the ISA model. I haven't had a lot of success with it just because I personally had problems keeping people in that role. There was a lot of attrition and it was just sucking up too much energy for me. I liked the idea of that model. It just took up too much of my time. So for right now, we have two admins that manage the transactions for all of our locations here in Vegas. We have one part-time admin down in Fort Worth that manages some of the transactions down there. We have a full-time operations manager that oversees all of the logistics of everything from flyers and brochures and all of that stuff, all of the logistics of running the business. And then we have agents. If I remember correctly, we have 22 agent email addresses. So we have about 22 agents right now across the different cities. And we just have an agent model. It's not a buyer's agent or a listing agent. We're a listing-focused company. So when you join our team, you have the ability to take listings or work with buyers. And the expectation is that your lead generation time is targeted at getting listings.
Yeah, love it, man. So are your active role today, are you still active in working with, buyers, sellers in that element at all, or are you really just overseeing the true CEO at this point?
Yeah, I haven't worked with buyers or sellers in a couple of years. Frankly, I don't have the personality for it. I don't have the patience. I'm not going to handhold some buyer to tell them that the house is nice. I can't do that. I can't fake it. So my entire day is spent on the phone, either looking for talent, literally interviewing people all day long, every day to plug into different locations around the country, or coaching and developing our existing leaders. So in each location we have a team leader, and I meet with each team leader once a week to go through their numbers and their team's results. And that's it.
Yeah, love it, man. So at what point did you decide to go with the expansion model? Because how many markets are you in? And then again, at what point did you decide that that's the route that you wanted to go, compared to, hey, let me just keep growing Vegas?
Sure. So we're in 5 different states right now. So we got Dallas and Fort Worth. We got San Diego. We got Vegas. We have Southern Utah, a little city called St. George. And we're right in the middle of launching our Phoenix location. We have a couple of agents down there coming on board with us. So really, expansion is kind of like a big buzz right now, and everyone's expanding in some way, shape, or form. But for us, it started a couple of years ago when we realized that our tenured agents, the ones that have been on our team for a while and that were doing really well, at some point they hit a ceiling. They had to make a decision. Do I cap my income where it is now? Old situation, and frankly, it really sucked. Where there was a ceiling, they couldn't go anywhere else. So we kind of had to go back to the drawing board to figure out, how can we keep these agents with us and offer them an opportunity to grow without ever leaving our organization? If we don't do that, they're going to get to a point where they leave as soon as something better comes along. And it turns out that just eliminating the geographic boundaries that we kind of impose on ourselves by having a state license, once we just eliminate that and let our business grow the way that we want, the way that it wants to, all of a sudden we need team leaders in each location. As that grows, we need regional managers to oversee the team leaders. If you think about it, where it gets to 500, 600, 700 agents, we need our own marketing department, we need our own training department, we need our own coaching department. All of a sudden, we have all of these crazy opportunities that we didn't have before. And then it helps us attract a higher caliber talent. And it was, once we just eliminated that geographic boundary, it kind of opened our eyes to a lot of other things that we never saw before.
Yeah, and when the reality is, man, with all systems and technology and the ability to inspect what you expect from your cell phone, there's no reason that anybody needs to be in the same market anymore.
Right. The way that we explain it to people is we essentially took the real estate business and we decided that there were 3 pillars. There's a lead generation pillar, there's an administrative operations pillar, and then there's a sales pillar. If we can do the lead generation and administration stuff all from here in Las Vegas, that sales pillar could be anywhere in the country. So my job really shifted to just find those people. And then we could plug and play. We could go to Des Moines, Iowa, and turn on leads tomorrow and teach a new agent how to work within our system and start closing transactions there within the next 30, 45 days. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, love it, man. So the markets that you've expanded into, I mean, they're kind of diverse markets, like San Diego probably compared to, Utah, or San Diego compared to Fort Worth. I mean, price points are vastly different, locations are vastly different. So it doesn't sound like there's a model that you have as far as this price point, this population for a metro area. Is your decision when you decide to expand more based on the talent that you find in that area? I mean, what's kind of that thought process behind what area you're going to go into?
Yeah, it always boils down to the people. If you look at Vegas and Phoenix and Dallas, Fort Worth, those markets are pretty much the same. Southern Utah is a retirement, second home type market. And then San Diego is even different than that. As we've kind of gone through this experiment, if you will, we've realized that what we're calling transactional markets makes a lot more sense. Like Orlando's a good example of that. Portland, they're very similar to Vegas and Phoenix, where we can go in and start closing transactions immediately and have some revenue coming in to offset the cost. As opposed to San Diego, we might have to carry a new team for 6 or 7 months before we get one big transaction. So the transactional market seems to make a lot more sense for us. But it does always come back to the people, though.
Yeah, love it, man. So I know that you mentioned, okay, so your agents are still doing some lead generation or at least lead follow up. It sounds like in the morning, but you guys are generating the vast majority of the leads at kind of, I guess, the hub up there in Vegas. I mean, kind of walk us through that. I mean, what are your agents having to personally lead generate, or when they're in the office in the morning, is that literally just working the leads that you're giving them?
Yeah, so they if you're going to be part of our team, you have to lead generate. So in our opinion, this is a team effort. So you generate leads and we generate leads. So the way that we have it set up is literally all of our leads from the team standpoint flow through our Boomtown account. So the agents get on a script and role play call every morning at 8:30, 9 o'clock. They jump on the phones to usually circle prospect, and then they usually end up around 11:30 or noonish to go to lunch. And if they don't show up in the morning to do their daily lead gen, we just turn them off in Boomtown. And if they come back the next day, we'll turn them back on. So the expectation is that everybody lead generates, the team included. And if you want the team's leads, you show up to lead generate.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it, man. So when you're doing that, because I get this question from a lot of team leaders, and I know it's kind of tough because your agents are generating their own leads, but have you found like not a magical number, but like the right number, at least for you, that your agents you feel that can handle? Because it's not just receiving the leads, right? It's the frequency, and if we give too much, they then can't follow up frequently enough to actually convert them.
You're exactly right. That's a challenge that we're running into right now. Frankly, we did cap our agents where they're only able to have 100 leads at any time, so they can rank them or keep them in any order that they want, but they're only allowed to have 100. If they max out at 100, we turn their leads off until they give us back some of the bottom ones that they don't want. Frankly, I think 100 is too much. I think we could probably divide that in half and get it down to 40 or 50. Just because if you're going to follow up appropriately with 100 people, that's a full-time job in and of itself. So we're at 100 now. I think it could easily be half of that.
Yeah. So then the vast majority of your leads, and then we kind of hit on this earlier, that you're feeding your Boomtown account. I mean, is it mainly online leads that you're doing? I know you mentioned your agents are also circle prospecting, but as far as what the team is feeding them, is that mainly online at this point?
Mainly, yeah, we did just get a couple of builder accounts. And one is coming through in Fort Worth right now. We just got a builder account recently in Las Vegas. So there's some stuff coming in from the builders as far as buyers that don't fit with that particular builder, sellers that need to sell in order to buy with the builder, things like that. Most of it, though, is coming from online sources, pay-per-click, Facebook. We don't pay for Zillow, Trulia, or Realtor.com, but just because we have listings, we do get leads from those sources as well.
Yeah. Love it, man. So I'm curious, being a guy that started your career off in the short sale market, and what was a heavy investor before you got involved in creating a real estate team. Where do you see the market, where it is right now? There's a lot of different predictions out there. I know you're in a lot of different markets. We're seeing a transition. Most markets have kind of transitioned from a pretty heavy seller's market. Now we're seeing more of a neutral market transition. But there's a lot of people that think that in another 18 months we could be seeing a lot of short sales, potentially REOs. Do you have any kind of predictions on where you see the vast majority of the market heading?
Yeah. So if you ask my personal opinion, I think we're kind of in the middle of it right now. I think we're already starting to see the first signs of a shift. And I don't think it'll ever be as drastic as it was, 2005, 2006, 2007. But here in Vegas specifically, we can see our number of days on the market rising. We can see the number of active homes on the market rising. Anytime you go to a barbecue and the topic of conversation is how hot the real estate market is, there's something going on and you need to be aware of it. If you flew into Fort Worth right now, if you and I jumped on a flight, landed in Fort Worth, and just stepped off of the airplane, we'd hear people talking about real estate. The market down there is absolutely insane, and there's new construction going up everywhere. That's going to come to a screeching halt, I think, in the next year or so. I don't know that it's going to fall off and the market's going to tank like it did before, but we're definitely headed for a slowdown.
Yeah, it gets kind of gnarly. It's kind of scary when you see a lot of the same, mistakes being repeated. Little to no, down financing and lowering the credit scores, and it's like, man, don't you guys remember what just happened, 8 years ago? But I guess pain is forgotten very quickly.
Yeah.
Do you mind? And if you don't want to, it's no biggie at all. But do you mind kind of sharing some of your splits that you have with your agents? Do you have graduated splits? The more that they close, what does that look like?
Sure. So that's kind of a long answer. I'll try to make it as short as possible. When we first started our team in its current form here in Vegas, we did 50-50 on the buy side and 30-70 on the listing side. And then it tiered up. Every 25 transactions that you did, it went up 5%. And the idea that we had in our head was that an agent, if they did half buyers and half sellers over the course of the year, their effective split would be 60-40.
So the theory was that it would balance out with the handling the X amount of listings, X amount of buyers.
Yeah, so if they did half listings, half buyers over the course of the year, their effective split would be 60-40. 60 to the team, 40 to them. And an agent about 6 months ago came to me and she said, hey, why would I ever take listings? Because I'm only getting paid 30% on them. Why wouldn't I just go after buyers? And that was exactly opposite of what we wanted to encourage. And our conversation had always been, look, your listings, the way that our team is set up, are your highest form of leverage. You literally go get the paperwork signed, you bring it back, you turn it into our admin team, and you're done. So recently in Fort Worth, we just switched straight over to a 60-40 split across the board. In Vegas, we're still on the old model. In the newer markets, we're on the 60-40, 60 to the team, 40 to the agent.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because a lot of agents might hear that and be like, well, why would I give up 60%? But they don't really understand the true costs and the additional amount of business they're able to do by having such an effective and efficient model.
Sure. Well, I follow the MREA model, the Millionaire Real Estate model. And in a perfect world, following the MREA model, you have 30% cost of sale, 30% expenses, and then you're driving 40% to the bottom line, 40% profit. So in a perfect world, my team would drive 40% to the bottom line. That means if I want to make $400,000, I have to gross $1 million. So essentially, when someone joins our team, we're giving them the ability to guarantee the MREA model bottom line right off the bat. They're going to get 40% to their bottom line with no other expenses. So it's the same opportunity. You just have to kind of understand what that looks like.
Yeah. And the thing that I think a lot of people don't think of as well is no risk. I don't know what your overhead is and what your personal risk is, but I'm sure it's a lot, right? So sure. The fact of just being able to go in there, just plug and play and get your work done and not have those headaches and that risk and that time investment, man, is massive. So I know that you mentioned the markets that you're in. If somebody wants to, that's listening, because we've got, of course, real estate agents all over the country. We've got a huge audience and following in Phoenix, and I know you're getting ready to start there. If somebody wants to reach out to you to learn more about your team, learn more about opportunities, maybe interview for your team, what's the best way to get a hold of you and learn more about you?
So probably email would be the best way. It's Jamie, Jamie, at capstoneresults.com. That's usually the best way. That way I can kind of respond when I'm not on the phone or not doing things like this.
Yep, love it, man. And I know that you also have a pretty large Facebook group that you started with thousands of members. What's the group? What's it about? How do people learn more about it? And what made you want to start that group?
Well, it's a group called Realtor Lead Generation Tips. And it's essentially just a bunch of people that are sharing ideas about how they're lead generating and what works. I started out of frustration, to be honest with you. I was part of all of these different groups, and they were supposed to be lead gen oriented or whatever, and the feed was full of how do I fill out this form on this day in this state, and it applied to nobody there. So we have a bunch of admins in the group that do a good job of just filtering out everything that isn't on topic. There's only 5 or 6 thousand people in there, but we get a lot of interaction, a lot of feedback from each other, really just to help each other grow. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, that's awesome, killer, man. So back to you on a personal level. It's what we find in life that good very easily becomes the worst enemy of greatness, right? It's so easy to get caught up in the good enough. Like you could probably be at a point right now, like, let me just coast, dude. My team's doing good. Probably can just, kind of ride this wave and be good for the rest of my life, if you will. What keeps you from not getting comfortable, not accepting good enough, but going out there and chasing greatness?
Honestly, it's the guys that are working with us. I've made a commitment to them to build something that's going to help them hit their goals and build something big enough that's going to create opportunities for them. And I've made that commitment so many times now that if I stop and I let all of those people down, I'll never be able to forgive myself. So I have to do this. I have to build something big, and I have to help all of those people that I committed to hit their goals. And that sounds cheesy, but that's the honest truth.
Yeah, and I love it, man, because so many people have such a selfish thought about leadership, and it's like it gets to a point where it's not really about us anymore. It becomes so much bigger than that. And I love that answer, man. So I know you're a dude, that's always about growth, personal expansion. What does self-development look like for you on a daily or weekly basis?
So I have 2 coaching calls. I have a MAPS mastery coach from KW that coaches me on business. I have a second coaching call. Tuesday's my first one. Thursday's my second one. My second one is all about me, frankly. It's about keeping my head clear, not losing sight of what's important in my life. This will suck you in. You get sucked into working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and forget why you're doing it. And getting my fitness back in shape. I lost track of that by getting sucked into this. So honestly, my main focus right now is shifting back to me and getting rid of some of this extra weight that I've packed on over the years. And going back to your last question, it's cheesy, but I'm scared to death that I've kind of let myself go and I'm going to have a heart attack and I'm not going to live up to my commitment. So that's the main focus for me right now, is getting back into shape.
Yeah, love it, man. So if something happened, dude, and you lost everything, like all this just got wiped out, but health is totally good, family's good, all that's good, but you've retained all the information, knowledge that you've learned over this whole entire journey. What would you do now that you know what you know, immediately to go out there and rebuild this massive business that you built?
That's funny. I would pack everything up and move to St. Martin, and I would start a coaching company. And then from the relationships that I built with that coaching company, I would then start spawning off real estate teams. I just like it there. We try to get down there 1 or 2 times a year. It's relaxing. It's laid back. The people there are nice. You can't really go anywhere. It's perfect.
Yep. So you talked about how it's easy to get this or easy to allow this business to suck you in, and that's just something that's not just this business. It's all entrepreneurs, right? Get that driving personality, and it's like you said, it's very easy to lose sight of everything else. And what do you kind of do, or what do you do to go out there and kind of get away from a little bit, kind of have that life or family balance, if you will, just so you don't allow this to control every aspect of your life?
Lots of things. I enjoy going hiking. You get up in the mountains or the Red Rocks here in Vegas, or even up into Utah, where there's no other people around and it's just dead silence. That one day of that brings me back to life, just to block out all the clutter. I go down to San Diego quite a bit with my family, so we go hang out down on the beach. But between those 2 things, I get brought back to life pretty easily.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love it. So, I started this podcast, dude. I've been in the real estate business now since 2005, so going on 11 years, and there's so many quote unquote gurus and trainers, and there's a lot of great, but there's of course a lot of those that claim to be trainers that have never done it, right? And there's just so much smoke and mirrors. And out of frustration, one day I'm like, man, I'm just going to start this podcast to go to dudes like you that are the actual doers, that are actually out there building epic businesses, that are in the trenches, interview you, so then our listeners can take that tactical information and go out there and create the life they know they really want and deserve. So with that being said, man, any last words of advice, inspiration that you'd like to leave our listeners with so they can go out there and create that amazing life they know that they want and deserve?
Sure. It's funny that you asked that, because every time someone asks me something similar to that, my response is always, when you're first starting out, there's no problem that you're going to face that taking more listings won't fix. And as you grow, that's going to transition to there's no problem you're going to face that hiring a talented person won't fix. And the only reason that fixes it is because you'll take more listings. So if you go out there, it doesn't matter where you're at in your business. If you have an inventory of 300 listings right now, or you're just starting off, if you ignore all of the clutter and you go after listings with everything you got, everything else falls into place.
Yeah. Love it, man. Love it. Powerful words. And all right, our listeners, I know I end every podcast with this, you guys, but information without implementation is truly just the start of delusion. Information is not power. It's taking that information, taking action on it, implementing into your world that creates power in your life. So Jamie just shared so many amazing pieces of information, so many nuggets with you guys. Take something he shared with you, go out there and take action on it immediately to go out there and create that business that you know that you want and deserve. And Jamie, man, this has been a massive honor, dude. Really appreciate you taking the time to be here, man.
It was awesome. I appreciate you having me.
Yep, absolutely. All right, you guys, we will see you next time.